Hi quilting friends, I'm Edyta Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts. Welcome to Quilting Window. I am so excited today because guess what? We're gonna get to work on our brand new block of the month called Star Bright. You're probably just receiving the blocks and it is a wonderful, wonderful project. It's a beautiful blue and white quilt that we're gonna be making for next few months. I'm surrounded by blue and white quilts and you know me, I love them. I love making blue and white quilts and stars are some of my favorites. For next few months, you're going to be receiving beautiful packages already pre-cut for you, ready, set, go. Just enjoy and make lovely stars. Your sewing room is going to be glowing and sparkling with gorgeous projects. Now, every month, like I said, you're going to be receiving packages. There may be 2 or 3 packages a month that you get because this quilt is done in sections. In every section, you're going to get variety of stars. And today, I want to just go over some of the stars. I've been sewing my section 1 and 2, and with those sections I thought maybe you would like to hear some tips and I wanted to share them with you. I'm super excited. Every month you will be also receiving a pattern for the section that you're working on it. For example, this is quilt section 1 and we have a star 1, square in a square, star 2 and star 3 in it. I'm going to put the pattern next to me so that way I know exactly what we're working on it. But during this video, I'm not only going to show you section 1, I'm going to show you few of my favorite blocks from section 1 and 2. So stay tuned, get excited, and this video will be very helpful to you through all of the 10 months. Now, in your packages, the first letter that you receive from us is going to show you also this whole quilt right here with all of the sections, something to look forward to it. As you're looking at the picture, you're going to notice that the designs are repeat. So the first section 1 and 2 will be a really good for you to look over with me today and will build some of your skills as you getting the block. So you can always come back to this video even 8 months from now and look at it and learn something and maybe refresh it. You're also getting a cute little coupon from us. I'm gonna keep it secret. There's a little gift for you guys. And I'm super excited to show you how to make some of the most beautiful blocks in stars. Now, this project is made with our collection Beach House, and Beach House is a lot of beautiful lights and blues in it. We have fat quarters, fat eights if you want to add to your project, but in your packages you're getting everything pre-cut, ready, set, go, and you're good to go with it. Now, if you fall in love with some of the stars, we have a project called Sawtooth Star that has first 2 stars that I'm gonna show you today. So if you want it, you can go ahead to our website. We have the pattern and we have a kit called Sawtooth Star, just like this one. This one is not pre-cut, you will cut it yourself. And this one is a really fun kit because it's based on those first 2 stars that I'm gonna show you, and you can repeat them over and over to build up your skills. Let's start. Now, the first star that I wanted to share with you is one of my personal favorite. It calls Sawtooth Star. It's very simple. It's just beautiful. You have 8 points right here, and this block is based on flying geese. A lot of the stars are based on flying geese. So let's review how we make a flying geese unit. You're gonna need a quarter square triangle. That's this light one right here, and then you're gonna need a dark half square triangle. I'm gonna place them right sides together. I already have mine sewn together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Notice how nice I match right here this point, and right here this point overlaps very gently. I stitch using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and just a little advice, if you're working with a pre-cut kit, It's very important that you check your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Do one unit. Don't do all 4 of them. Just do one. Check how things come out, and then you know if you need to adjust your 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right. Now I notice when I'm sewing, I like to be a little bit shy on my 1/4 inch. Not too much, just one thread shy, because I like to trim and I like to square things out. Now notice I now place my second half square triangle. I matched my point right here, and I'm gonna stitch from here straight out. As soon as I do that, I'm gonna have a beautiful flying geese unit. My seam allowance are being pushed towards the dark. I want to hide the seam allowances behind the dark right there. I'm gonna press it, and the next thing I'm gonna do is grab my ruler and trim it. You need to trim it to 3.5 by 2 inches, this unit. If you like, you can go head to our website and get a flying geese block lock rulers. Those are wonderful for trimming. Today I'm gonna be using a basic ruler. You don't need a lot for this block of the month because everything is already pre-cut for you, and I like that 6.5 by 6.5 ruler because it's easy to work with, and when I trim my units, it works really nice. I'm big on trimming my units. This sets me up on a nice project. So here I trim my flying geese unit, and it is just wonderful. I'm gonna make 4 of those. With this first one, like I said, when you measure and it's 3.5 by 2, you're gonna know that your 1/4 inch seam allowance is wonderful, and you don't have to stress about anything, just enjoy. And when you're sewing, I would love for you to use 2312 Orifil thread. This thread is weight 50 from Orifil, and it's really nice. It gives you really nice results in your seams. Another fun tool that I would like you to have is our little pressing tool. This one will give you a little bit more help when you need to finger press before you press it with an iron. And speaking of an iron, I'm using this little Oliso iron. It's so sweet, and it gives me such a good results when I press. I press my unit, I can take my clapper, put it right over, let it sit for a few minutes as I'm pressing my next one, and that way the heat stays right onto this low unit, and it's just so crisp, so lovely. Now it's time to line up my block. I'm gonna put my ruler to the side, and I'm gonna line up my block. I'm gonna have my 4 flying geeses. This one is not finished, but I'm gonna use it just to display to show you how I lined up my block. Then I'm gonna need a center square right here, and I'm gonna need 4 small square for each corner. Look at this. Now the next step, I'm gonna be sewing my units into 3 rows. This is row 1, 2, 3. Follow the pattern for your pressing, and as soon as you finish sewing your rows, you're gonna sew the rows together, and you're gonna have a beautiful block just like I did right here. Look at that. As soon as you finish, make sure you press that seam allowance towards the center, those 2 seam allowances right here and right here, and now press and square your block out, and that 6.5 inch ruler would be perfect to square it out. Now this block is gonna be a foundation for making our next block. Let's see what else I have prepared for you guys. This is such a fun project. Look at this. This is gonna be our next star we're gonna be making. Isn't that beautiful? Notice that in the center of the star, I have a sawtooth star. Look at this. So that is a another star right here. Let me see exactly the number, so that way I don't give it wrong. Star 2. This is star 2. So right there, you're gonna have your center. I had double on my patterns right there, and what I'm gonna to do is now I need my flying geese units for the outside to make this a beautiful block. Look at this. All that I have to do is make those flying geese units. Oh, you are a pro in doing them, but I'm gonna review with you because just to double check if you have paid attention. So what we're going to do is we're gonna go ahead, take a light quarter square triangle, add a half square triangle in blue, flip it right open, just like we did it in the small units right here. This time, I'm pushing my seam allowance also towards the blue, and now I'm gonna place the second one, place it right over, stitch, flip it, and I have a flying geese unit, just like this one. Next, you know what to do. We're gonna be trimming it to make sure that it's the exact size. All that you have to do is add squares. And if you wanted to lay out your block before you start, in case you want all your flowers to go in the same directions. I wasn't picky about it. I want my flowers to play around that center. So for me, wasn't important, but I know many of you pay attention to the directions of your fabric and maybe want your flowers to go one direction. All that I have to do now is sew rows together, 3 of them, and once I sew my rows, guess what? I'm gonna be sewing the rows to each other, and I'm gonna have a beautiful star number 2. Look at this. Isn't that lovely? Now you can follow the arrows that I have in a pattern for your pressing, but before you do it, always double check, does this pleases you? Many times in the patterns I recommend something, but you know, I'm not writing a rule book for quilting. You can switch the pressing. Maybe you want a less bulk in the points, so you're gonna push it in the opposite directions that I did, or maybe you want to press your seams open. Once you finish pressing your block, you can go ahead and set it to the side because it is time for another beautiful block. And this one is so simple and so fun. This one is loose square in a square. And we have in our quilt 2 different squares in a square. One, a tiny cute one, and this one, a little bit bigger one. Guess what? The center of the bigger one, it is the same size that our little one. So guess what? With learning how to make the small one, we're gonna set ourselves on a good foundation to know how to make the larger one too. How do you make a square in a square? You're gonna start with a square, and then you need half square triangles. Those half square triangles are gonna go all the way around our center square. I'm gonna start with 2 triangles. I'm gonna place one on one side, centered up just like this. Okay, if you don't know where the middle is, where the center is, very gently, without stretching, you can go ahead and crease the triangle, do the same thing to your square, okay, and now you can match crease to crease, just like this, all right, look at right away, center it up really nice. I'm gonna take a pin, I'm gonna pin it right there in the middle, and the next thing I'm gonna stitch. I will do the same thing on this side, stitch and flip it open. Now pay attention to the arrows for pressing for this low unit, because I want you to have the best results, and we're gonna be pressing towards the center. Here I already stitched, and now I can press it, and you can go ahead finger press, or you can use the iron right here. Let's see, I'm gonna move this over. Oh, this is so nice and crisp. I love how this little iron works. Now we have two more triangles, and this time we're gonna place them right here and opposite side right here. And again, if you would like to pin, center it up, stitch, and flip it open. As soon as you flip it open, and this time you're gonna be pushing your seams towards the outside. As soon as you do that, you can go ahead and press it. Oh, this looks so good. As soon as you finish pressing, it is gonna be time to do what? Grab your Creative Grits ruler, place it right over, and square things up. Oh, this is lovely. I do need to pay attention to my 1/4 inch seam allowance because I didn't have a lot to trim, and that makes me a little bit nervous. I like to trim. I like to make sure that everything is nice and square up. I'm paying attention that I have a nice 1/4 inch from here to here, so that way for later for stitching I have nice room. Look at this. So you're gonna go ahead and make a bunch of those every single month. Maybe you have 5, maybe you have 6, depends on a pattern, but you're gonna make few of those, and then you can either leave them as they are to create a wonderful rows to fill up some empty spaces in your quilt, or you can go ahead and use them as the center for the larger one. Now I just want to show you this. Since I have pressed my seam allowance towards the center and then towards the outside, when I start sewing them to each other, is very nice to lay them one on the top of each other, because look at this, my seam allowances are locking right here very nicely, and it's easy to lay it out. And that way when I stitch, I pay attention to this X marks the spot for me. I pay attention that I'm sewing right here, right over that X, going down. I actually stay just beside the X. Stitch right down, because guess what? When you open it up, I'm gonna hold it for just a moment just so you see it. I'm gonna get really nice transitions between those squares, and they're gonna be really nice, and I'm not gonna lose any points. So that's why we're pushing those seam allowance in opposite direction, and they're gonna work great. But now let's look at that bigger block. With this one, we have started in the center, push our seam allowance towards the center, push towards the outside. Now we go and sew another round of half square triangle. Very simple. 2 on opposite side, press it towards the outside this time. All the seams from now on towards the outside. The same here, sew 2 towards the outside, and then we're gonna add 2 more lights. All the seams gonna go to the outside. Trim it to 6.5 by 6.5, and now you have this beautiful square in a square. I normally, when I design a quilt, I love just using star blocks, like in this case, but normally I like to put it, it's to me like a little hidden treasure, another block that complements my stars. So that way you have like a filler block, like an accent block. And I was going between 9 patches, all this square in a square, and I love the square in a square because of the angle complements really nice the design of stars. But also I noticed something, that square in a square is part of another block called feather star. Are you familiar with a feather star? It's right here. This is a beautiful, beautiful star block. Let me show you how I made this one. And this one is gonna be in your section 1. So right up front, I'm getting you to do something that I'm super excited about it, and it's one of my favorite blocks. And the center of the block, very simple, square in a square. So big square, 2 triangle sewn together, left on opposite side, then add 2 more triangles. Super fun. Square it up, make sure that you have a beautiful center, follow the directions and the measurement, that you have a great center for your star. Now the feather star is made from another unit, 4 of them, and for that one I'm gonna need a square, and then I need, this is gonna be so much fun, I'm gonna need some half square triangles. I already took my half square triangles and I sewed them to half square triangle units. I took a dark and a light and sewed it together. Now I'm gonna lay it out to create my layout for my block, for my one corner of my block. Right there, I need this one, and I have two half square triangles units, and 2 just half square triangles. Okay, very important, when you sew your half square triangle units, make sure as soon as you finish you check the measurements and trim it to the size that it's in the pattern, and it's a little bit different size. I'm gonna let you look at that in the pattern, so make sure you trim it so it's perfect. Then you're gonna go ahead and now we're gonna sew this to this. Just like that, I took a half square triangle, sewed it on the top, flip it open. I'm pushing the seam allowance one direction, and I'm gonna take this and place it right over, stitch it, and flip it open. That is one side. Then I'm gonna move this just gently so you see. Then I'm gonna do this right here, and I like to lay out my whole block so that way, because there is a direction in this triangle, there is a stripe, and it's important to me that the stripes go out. So I lay out my whole block, and I'm gonna go ahead, take the squares, sew it together just like this, add a triangle right here and add a square right there, just by placing right sides together. Now with my first unit, this one, I right away know if I have sewn really nice. Sometimes because there is a little bit more bulk, we like to be shy. Please remember to be exact on your 1/4 inch, because you don't want this right here to get too big. You want it to be exact, and as soon as you finish it, we're gonna take this square, we're gonna place it right over. You should be just about a 1/4 inch right here sticking out, that point right there, and you're gonna stitch. As soon as you stitch, you're gonna flip it open. Just pay attention that you're not gonna lose any points, and then you're gonna go ahead and add this part to your unit. This is gonna be a 1/4 of 1/4 of your feather star. Now we have 2 more triangle to add to this area, and we're gonna go ahead, those are half square triangles. We're gonna place one right here just by placing it over, just like this, 1/4 inch sticking up here, stitch, flip it open, and we're gonna go ahead and do another one on this side. Now I have one finished, so I wanted to show you finish one, because with that one you get to see all of the details that happen. So notice it, how nice I kept everything organized. I sewed it, I flipped it open right here, matched it up, really nice stitch, flip it open, and now I have this 1/4 of my block. Now I'm gonna place my center. Then the next thing that I need is left side, right side, right here, and then we have this side. To this side I have sewn 2 1/4 square triangle, one on one side and one on the other. I'm creating a rose right there. I have 2 more of the 1/4 square triangle, and of course this one that I did not finish yet, that I have to work on it and finish it up. But you're getting the idea that this is now gonna be my feather star. So all that I have to do is sew my 1/4 square triangle like I told you. Now go ahead and make sure, place this right over, match it up, really nice, left, right, and I like to pin, and make sure that right here I don't lose any of my points, and I'm gonna stitch really gently and nice. Sometimes if you wanted to, you can use a little bit bigger stitch when you're stitching it, just to make sure that everything is working out correct. If you're happy with it, you can double stitch, or in case you have to take it apart and rematch it, that's okay too. Your first one, be gentle to yourself. It's gonna take a little bit of work, but it is very durable, and this is one of my favorite feather stars. So easy to do it. All that you have to do is make those rows. This is row 1, 2, and a 3. It's on the angle, so that is a little bit different than normal. But guess what? I'm pushing you right away into making something wonderful. And another thing, if your first star don't come out perfect, it's okay. This is your learning experience. You're gonna have 2 more chances to make feather stars, and I can guarantee you by the 3rd one, you're gonna be incredible. And you know, those patterns that you're getting with your block of the month, you can cut your own pieces and keep practicing and keep making beautiful blocks. So that is your feather star. If you have any questions on the feather star, remember that we have a wonderful live show every Thursday at 11 o'clock, and love to see you there and see how your progress is. And I promise you, it's not difficult. It just takes tiny bit of time. Now, speaking of time and speaking of something fun and exciting, I want to show you a super cool star. There is another star. This one comes in our section 2, and I thought I'm going to show you that one right away, just so you know what's coming ahead. Section 2 has this lovely star right here. This one, and it is star 2, and it's 15.5 inches. But I want to show you something that maybe you have not done it before. With this one, as well as before, we need to make flying geese units. I already made some of them, but I wanted to stop for a moment and share with you a cute little, nice tip, because I think it's going to be very helpful. So this time you're going to have quarter square triangles, and you're going to have half square triangles. When you place your quarter square triangle with half square triangle, you're gonna notice you are having so much more room right here. There's extra fabric. That is good thing. You need to have it, because I'm trying to do something different. I'm making a flying geese unit by my quarter square triangle. I want to further away from my 1/4 inch seam allowance. Why? To create this fun design, but also to make a get rid of some of the bulk in our point right here. So we're gonna place half square triangle over 1/4 square triangle. We're gonna stitch right here straight down, okay? Open it up, and as soon as you open it up, you're gonna go ahead, place this half square triangle over, match it up, stitch, trim this off then after you stitch. So let me show you. I'm just gonna place this down here so I don't lose it, because I want to show you the rest of the block. Okay, and I have one already prepared for you. So look at this. I stitch the first one, push the seam allowance towards the blue, put the second half square triangle, stitch. Now I'm gonna go ahead and with scissors, or you can use rotary, get rid of this extra fabric now. But now when I press, I can go ahead, press it with fingers, or use a beautiful iron that I have right here. Oh, this is gonna be so nice. I need a little bit more heat, and then go ahead, trim 4.5 by, I believe, 7.5. Yet let me check on this one. I don't have the measurements close to me, so you're gonna have to check. Oh, there they are, just hiding. Oh no, that's different one. You're gonna have to check in your pattern and once you trim it down to the exact size that we have it in a pattern, you're gonna go ahead and set it up on each side, and you are ready for the rest of the star. And the rest of the star is so simple, so fun. Oh, there is my measurements. Perfect. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make 4 patches for the corners. You're gonna do 2 light squares, 2 blue squares, sew them into rows, then open up the center really nice, push the seam allowance in the opposite direction. How do you do this? You push it towards the blue, stitch, and then when it comes to open up, you just push this open, and you're gonna get a nice opening, and that is gonna be your corners. We're gonna make 4 of those for this star. Look how sweet. And then for the center, I'm gonna make a fun 9 patch. We have 4 smaller square, 1 larger square. For a rectangle, it's still 9 patches in this block. We're gonna sew into rows, push the seam allowance following the arrows in the patterns, and then notice it how nice this flying geese is matching right here, left and right. Make sure you pin it, stitch it, flip it open right there, and you're gonna have a wonderful block. Now we're gonna start by sewing rows. I showed you stitch it open here, but actually first we're gonna do this row, and then of course this row, just like we've done in all the other stars. Once you have your units, square your units to the right size, then you sew it into the rows, sew rows together, and you have another beautiful block. The benefit with this one is you don't have to worry about losing this point next to the seam. It pushes the blue a little bit away and gives you a little bit different look to the star. So pay attention, and I have marked in the pattern, you have to stay away from that seams approximately 3/4 of an inch from the point. Right there, there's gonna be 3/4 of an inch instead of just a quarter, what it's gonna give you plenty of room to make a beautiful block. And now we're gearing up for our last star that I want to share with you today. I think, I hope, not only think, I hope that all the tips and all the different things that I'm sharing with you gonna help you through the next 10 months of having fun with us. So right there, we have a center, and this one calls Ohio Star. It is one of the fun blocks that we're gonna do, and we have 2 different blocks that have the Ohio Star units, and Ohio Star is made with quarter square triangle. This one has a little bit extra half square triangle here. So let's start with just the basic Ohio Star. What you're going to do is you're gonna start by making quarter square triangle units. What that means is you're gonna have a dark quarter square triangle, light quarter square triangle, stitch, flip it open, make sure push the seam allowance towards the blue. Do the same thing with your second unit. See, you have 2 of them to make 1 quarter square triangle unit. You're gonna rotate, place it right sides together just like this, and make sure you pay attention to your fabrics. Follow the picture in your pattern, because I did something fun and exciting for that one. I have 2 lights. I have a light with a polka dot, and I have a light with a pretty flower on it. So make sure you have those 2 lights in your block. And what you're going to do is stitch. As soon as you finish, you're gonna have a unit like this. Make sure you open that low center again, those 2 halves sewn together, push it open. So cool, so fun. And you're gonna make 4 of those. You're gonna have a center, you're gonna have 4 quarter square triangle units, and as you placing them, make sure those flowers go towards the center. just like this. I'm gonna use this one just as a display. It's not finished yet, you understand. I'm just showing you what I'm working on. And then the next, I'm gonna add squares right here on each corner, and you know the game now. You're gonna go ahead, sew rows, sew your units to rows, then sew rows together, follow your pattern for pressing, and you're gonna have a beautiful block. And if you like the Ohio Star, you're gonna love the next one, what it's Ohio Star with half square triangle unit in each corner. As soon as you finish the block, you're gonna be ready to press it, square it up, and wait for another month of fun. I hope next few months you're gonna have a wonderful time working on your Star Bright block of the month. Thank you so much to everyone that joined us in. Yes, if you would like to, you still have time until end of this month to join in and enjoy. Everything will be pre-cut and we're gonna have so much fun. There's so many beautiful designs. The two that I showed you today are just the section 1 and section 2. Many of the blocks will repeat through the following sections, but there may be some fun surprises with your fabric. If you have any questions, just let us know and enjoy yourself and have some sewing fun. Happy quilting, and I hope you enjoy it.